Keenum should be able to have a pretty good day against that team.
Absolutely, and I think he absolutely needs to have a good day, because if he doesn't, then these questions will intensify, and then it's going to force. Then we know how. Listen, Jay Gruden's. He tries to be as honest as he can in these press conferences, and you could hear it in his voice in that last answer about, we see everybody out at practice, we're evaluating if we think Dwayne gives us the best chance, et cetera. So he's going to be pressed harder on those, and I'll be curious to hear what he then says, like if he says how far away he is or whatever. But that's why I think this is a big game for him and for the organization. They need him to play well because it gives them a better chance to win. But I think they need him to play well because then it can quiet at least some of these questions for the organization about playing Haskins. Eventually Haskins is going to be the guy eventually. I think the other thing is too, and this is my little aside on it, you want to give that kid every chance you can to succeed. And right now, when you look at a game like the other night, with the way that pass rush took care of that line, I don't know that that's the spot you want to put him in. But at some point, but having said that, at some point, every rookie is going to go through all of that.
Right. I mean, the reason, hold on real quick, Jason, I'm sorry. The reason why Keenum had the worst game of his career as a pro is because of Khalil Mack and what the Bears were doing. It wasn't just some sort of random coincidence. They just had a bad game because he's Case Keenum. No, he had a bad game because Khalil Mack and the Bears defense dominated us.
They dominated that set, and they did a really good. I think certainly Case could have handled that better. I'm not gonna make excuses for him. He was bad, and those the 4th and 1 was bad, and But I think what they did is they put a journeyman quarterback in a spot where they rushed everything about him, and the one interception, his eyes are just locked on the guy, and the safety comes over for an easy pick. Well, then the touchdown to McLaurin, the reason why he got that touchdown is because he had a little bit of time to at least hold the safety with his eyes. So you know what I mean? So there are things that that I think they took away his ability to do in that. But he also, he didn't handle the pocket well, and
he was under siege, and that's why he performed.
Yeah, he was. Absolutely. And then, again, I don't want to sound like I'm not making excuses for him. He was bad. So people, every time you say stuff, you can't, in this world now, you can't even defend a play without someone saying you're whatever. But, even before the interception, the Clinton Dix, the pick six, Jeremy Sprinkle drops a pass right over the middle. It's a beautiful pass. Perfect ball. You make that play, you're at the 45-yard line, and it's a different drive. This team can't afford those kind of mistakes all the time. And, there were a couple plays like that where they make this big mistake, and then they turn over the next play. So, things like that happen all the time with this team. So it goes beyond that guy. But he does, the Bears were by far the best front they faced. They did a good job protecting the first 2 weeks, and some of that was by the action of the play, the play actions, the jets, and all that. But that stuff wasn't working against the Bears. They didn't give a crap about all that.
Oh, they don't care. So
and so it was just he was. So I think this week the Giants do not have that kind of a pass rush, and they do not have a good secondary. It's a bad. He should get help. Yeah. Healthy, and I think you'll see a pretty good passing game this week from them. But he's got to play well. Just to keep, first of all, to quiet everything around this franchise right now. But just to keep the Haskins stuff, I think it's good. Haskins needs to, when he goes in there, he needs to play. He wants to play well. He needs to play well. You can only play so well as a rookie. Most of the time. I always say that, and Daniel Jones had this great game, but you know how it usually goes with rookies, but you also want to put the guy in a chance where he has a chance for success.
So if Dan and Bruce, ran down to Gruden's office and said, we want Haskins to play this week, would he defer to them, or would he say, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm starting a guy who I think can win? Can he feel pressure from those guys? Is it their decision, or is it still Jay's?
Well, right now it's because it's still Jay's right now. I think ultimately the organization would go and say, now it's time to play him. And that wouldn't surprise me. The only thing is with the Gruden at that point, what do you say? Because at that point, you're probably dead man walking, right? Because if they're coming to you and saying that, and it's a few weeks from now, it means you probably are 0 and whatever or 1 and whatever. And so you just say, I'm going to play this guy because this is who the veterans deserve on here because he gives us the best chance. And then so then how do they respond? Because then the choice is either to fire the guy right then or to give him another week. But eventually that conversation would be had because the best thing for this franchise, if you're 0-6, 0-7, the best thing for this franchise then becomes the development of the rookie quarterback. But here, again, this is the mismatched part, and this is what is just like the lack of, the foresight plan, whatever. You're going to put Haskins, let's say they put Haskins out there for the last 6 or 7 weeks. It's in an offense that he may or may not be running next year.
Right.
And that's the thing. So now he does get pro experience, and I think the situation compared to would be like a Jared Goff because it would be a similar situation. But that's where it's like, you're going to get this, but it'll be the pro game experience that helps him, but not necessarily in this offense.
Unless Kevin O'Connell's the coach.
Unless Kevin O'Connell's a coach, unless unless he's still, let's say, in a scenario where he sticks around as an OC or something like that.
Right.
So yes, there's a chance it could be. Yes, you can't discount that. But here's the other thing. It might be hard to if this team is like disastrous, really, really, really bad, it would be hard to promote someone from within as a head coach, but maybe not to keep him as an OC.
So, John, we've been doing this show almost 25 years, and an entire tenure that Dan's on the team. I believe the only time he's fired a coach mid-season or late season is when he fired Norv, right? And Rabitsky came in.
Correct.
And
That's the only time.
So, and I know
do it much.
One of the big reasons why Bruce is here is to kind of quell that, calm him in this kind of situation. But this is early for the bottom to fall out.
It is.
And if they lose to the Giants, which is a division rival on the road, they're dogs here. Bad as the Giants are, they're dogs, and they have some renewed life with their quarterback. And then the Boston Massacre here occurs, which is a guaranteed. Just put your whole mortgage on it. They're going to get massacred by the Patriots. So then they're 0-5, and you've got Tampa coming up.
No, Miami.
Or Miami. Coming up. It's the perfect setup. If you believe Les Carpenter, and I do, he's got two sources that say Jay is safe this week, but he's in danger. I think it's the first time in recent times here, since Norv was fired, where we legitimately have a coach in week-to-week mode.
Absolutely. He entered the season in week, He entered the season on a major hot seat, and so if it's a disaster like this, it's absolutely week to week.
Yeah.
There's no other way to look.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because you're just going to get to a point where like when they fired North Turner, they weren't in week to week mode.
Yeah.
That came they weren't playing as well, and they were losing streak, but they had just won the division, and so there was not. That's why that situation is so bad. It's not going to be comparable to this one because now you're going to be in year 6. Look at the stands the other night. It was bad, and so I think like there is something that would be done. I don't. Yeah, the week to week thing is like.
What is your prediction, John? If they're 0-5, and it's a massacre, to the Patriots. What is your prediction the next day?
Well, I think it depends on how this week goes too. Well, if they're 0-5, then clearly they lost. But if it's a really bad game, I think the clock is absolutely ticking at that point. I think I almost wonder if they would give them the Miami game because it could be I wouldn't say an easy win because nothing would be easy for this team. And then if they lose there, then I would say then.
But isn't that the spot to play Haskins if you're going to – at 0-5, the season is over, even though you're mathematically
still out. Haskins, you could play Haskins, yes. If that's
Jay doesn't even want to play him, so just get rid of Jay, too.
If they go to Jay and say, you got to play him, and he says no, then I can see it doing it then because what's the point?
Yeah.
At that time, what's the point? And get a jump on things. But, again, they botched this. You started hearing things about – people there like, well, they know, that they knew Jay's days were numbered. This is like a couple weeks ago. Then why did they bring him back?
Mm-hmm.